All right, for more on budget expectations, we speak to SABC News reporter Katlego Legodi after Labour sent a very stern warning to the Finance Minister not to renege on the 5.5% wage offer that was presented to unions. Katlego, good afternoon. Thank you very much, as always, for joining us. Let's start with that 5% wage agreement. Is it in fact a done deal, or something could still change tomorrow?
A very good afternoon to you, Mfundo, and to our viewers at home. Well, it's as good as done. As per the workers' unions, they understand that really what has happened at the bargaining council would see that standing. But there's this anxiety, Mfundo, that has come through because they are on a once bitten, twice shy kind of an approach here, because it was in 2021 when government reneged on the third leg of an agreement that was reached here. And then it was citing all of these issues that are still issues that exist today. So the workers are kind of skeptical in terms of how then the budget is going to affect them in terms of this long-standing view, this long-standing issue of a bloated public sector wage bill. So
and this is often a conversation whenever we're talking about financial constraints or the fiscal just being constrained. Many would then say, if you're going to trim the fat, perhaps look at the bloated public sector wage bill. How has that often played out, or what has been the perception of unions every time they hear this?
Well, the unions have really vehemently denied this. Instead, they've said that the opposite has been happening. For instance, 2 decades ago, we would see that contribution being at 40%. So over the years, we've seen it come down. At some point, it was at 35%. And COSATU telling us that now it stands at 31%. So they are saying that over time, we've seen that go down, and they don't want to be sacrificial lambs where this budget is concerned, because there are implications in terms of you then touching or tapping the public sector. For instance, we'd see the delivery of services being hampered here because they'll talk to you about the ratio in terms of everything else that has been happening in education. They'll tell you about a 1 to 3 in terms of the teachers that will have to teach them. It's the same thing at hospitals, the same thing at home affairs, and they're saying that the police are also strained when you look at the delivery of services here. All of these things point into a crisis in the public sector, and they're saying that the minister should not touch that or go there, because already then we've seen a frustrated labor force, highly indebted, most of them highly demotivated. So you are touching it and going there and increasing a VAT, even reacting to that 2% that was proposed in the previous budget that was set to be tabled on the 19th, to say if that had kicked in, the workers, the public sector workers, were going to be the ones that are direly affected by what is happening here. For instance, we hear them just giving us a sense of the austerity measures that we always often see them playing out. They've had a chance to really sit down and look at the 19th of February budget, and it was pointing to some of these apex departments like your police, your education, your health, not getting the best out of the budget. So they're hoping that as we go into the 12th of March tomorrow, they're hoping that the minister will not in any way renege on these 5.5%, because everybody else has been talking, and it's been a long-standing assertion that the public sector wage bill is bloated. So everyone else will be saying that if you are then to make concessions here and there, you need to start there. But they're saying, and they're challenging that, to say that there is a 5.5% that is on offer right now on the table, signed for by all parties, including government. So those concessions would have been made when government tabled this 5.5% as their last offer. Remember, the workers started at 12% at the bargaining council, and we see it moving down. It was 10%, it moved to 8%. At some point, it was 6.5% until they agreed to this 5.5%. And they're saying that they're looking to the minister to ensure that they do best good faith budget whereby this agreement is concerned.
I suppose their anxiety then in this case is legitimate, given what happened with that 2021-2020 agreement, and it had to be a protracted one where everybody ended up going to court to ensure that government actually sticks to that agreement. But are they perhaps, as organized labor, looking to, or could they be okay with any form of an increase? Because what has been the talk now is beyond that 2%, perhaps we could see a 0.75% increase of VAT. Are they amenable to something like that?
They're not. They're not, because we have been in a low growth economy, if you can look at where we find ourselves now. And they're saying that the people that have been affected the most would be the workers. The workers having to take care of their young ones that are not finding employment. So it's a ripple effect here. And they're saying that when you look at it, most of them have had to contend with the basket, the food basket. Already when you go into the supermarket, you have to contend in terms of what do you take, what do you leave behind, because of the buying power that has been really weakened over time. So they're saying that if there is a VAT increase, that will not stand. Instead, they're advocating and calling for zero-rated items to be added into that basket, so that we see most of these food items, staple food, not taxed at all. And they're saying that if there is, a move,
but we knew that there was some sort of an exchange here. That with the finance minister before, he was saying that he'd increase it by the 2 percentage points and then extend the zero-rated basket. So if they're saying we go the zero-rated basket, but there must be absolutely no VAT increase, that would be quite difficult, it seems.
The argument here, Mfundo, is that really when you look at it, there are certain concessions that government can take and make without them touching into the public sector or even straining the workers further. Looking at this economy, they are looking at the executive to say the executive is bloated. They are looking at some of the bodyguards, the personnel that would be walking around with ministers, and they're saying that start there. If there is to be somewhat of a payment holiday from members of parliament, even the executive, that could help in terms of, with them also sacrificing themselves to ensure that there's a balance in the budget. But we don't, I doubt really that we'll see that happening. But they're saying that really when you look at it, there's no way that there's no movement here for the workers. Instead, then you'll be just basically killing them here because they don't have any room to move anymore. But all eyes really will be on the finance minister, because he has a tough job looking at balancing all of these acts.
Most certainly a tough balancing act there, Katlego Legodi. Nobody envies his position tomorrow. That is SABC News reporter Katlego Legodi, just giving us budget expectation from organised labour.